Good afternoon. Today we're discussing 5 techniques of formative assessment. The source that I'm using is called the Formative 5, and it's a resource that was specifically created for math classrooms. This particular book was written for math teachers. However, I think that the techniques that are discussed can be used in any subject area. So we'll be talking about those 5 techniques today, and then you choose one of those techniques to implement in an upcoming lesson. Finally, we'll discuss the pain points that were shared in the survey and see if, as a group, we can come up with some practices or some things that can solve those particular pain points. So we'll talk about the definition and purpose of formative assessment, followed by a jigsaw activity. You'll have time to plan, and then the last 10 minutes we'll talk about the pain points. So if you want to take 1 minute to look at this definition of formative assessment, this is from that resource I was talking about. For me, the takeaway was that formative assessment doesn't just include exit tickets. There are other ways that we can get this information of students learning. And formative assessment, what was eye-opening for me was that it differs from summative assessment in that summative assessment is an assessment of a scholar's learning versus this formative assessment is really to be used to modify our teaching. Why do we do it? Why do we do the formative assessment? Again, it's really a way for us to see what we need to modify in the classroom. So if a lesson didn't go well, how do we really know that objectively? Well, we use this formative assessment and the data to determine if we need to reteach, if there's certain scholars that are not understanding, and we can pull small group or after-school tutoring. So it's a way for us to support a scholar's learning. And it involves really any task that gives us evidence of the student's learning. And that can be used to inform, modify later instruction. The pain points, as we're going through these 5 techniques, I want you to be thinking about the 2 main pain points that I saw in our survey results. One was timing. And you can see some of the survey answers to the question around what are the pain points in implementing exit tickets specifically. So timing, and then also this issue of grading 150 plus exit tickets or trying to get in the grades into PowerSchool for all of these students. The 5 techniques we'll be talking about are observations, interviews, show me, hinge questions, and then finally the exit tasks. We're actually not going to be discussing exit tasks because based on the survey results, these are things that you're already implementing in classrooms or may not be applicable for you. However, I think these first 4 are ones that we can collaborate on. The jigsaw activity, I've assigned one of the techniques to a pair or a group of 3, and you'll read the chapter, or it's not the whole chapter, it's an excerpt of the chapter in the book, and you'll be jotting down your takeaways. So what did you get from the chapter? What was an aha for you? And then what was one thing or a few things that you thought, hey, I think this is something that I could actually try in my classroom? Be thinking about what are the benefits for this particular technique? What data needs to be collected? How much time is this really going to take, both prep time and time in the classroom? Is it feasible, I guess, is the question. And then finally, does this alleviate some of the pain points that were discussed with exit tickets, or does it worsen them? Once each group has had time to read through their particular technique, we'll have time to share for the whole group, and everyone will take down those notes on their guided notes. So when you leave today, you'll have a full set of this sharing notes for each technique, some ahas, and then things that we could try. So for observations, I have Ms. Owens and Ms. Reynolds. Interviews, Ms. Carney, Mr. Owens. Show me, Mr. McLeod and Ms. Benedetto. And then the hinge questions, Ms. O'Neill, Ms. Tolliver, and Mr. Rivera. At this point, I want you to find me so that we can move on. So go ahead and stop the video. For your jigsaw activity, you'll read or skim the packet for your assigned technique, complete the guided notes, and then share with the group and complete the guided notes for all techniques. If you have any questions, definitely grab me. Now's the time for you to be able to plan. I want you to select one of those techniques, whichever one you think might be most feasible in the classroom and the most benefit. Try to incorporate one of the four into an upcoming lesson. And there's some planning pages that are on that Google Drive folder that I sent you. You can use those as guides. So there are templates that I can show you for planning, and there's also some for data collection. Personally, I don't use those to, it's just an extra paper for me to have to keep track of. So I tried to actually put some of those questions, some of the planning pieces into my lesson plan and find a separate, already have a tracker for aggressive monitoring, so I can use that for some of the observations. So I would say try to do, as far as your data collection and the planning piece, use what you already have. But what I like about those templates is that it has some questions, guiding questions for you to be thinking about. So now's the time that we talk about our pain points. Again, here are some of the comments from the survey, and I want us to discuss what are some things that you do to help with timing. You know, we run out of time at the end of class, or it's difficult to fit in. What are some things that can help with that? The other is around grading. So what do you do to alleviate that issue of grading so many exit tickets, either weekly or multi-times during the week? Now's the time to take the survey. Once you take the survey, you are free to go. I would very much encourage you to be honest. This is our first really chance to do differentiated PD, and I really want to make sure that we're meeting teachers' needs. I don't want to give one PD that is really a one-size-fits-all, because we're all in different places with our teaching. So take a few minutes to take the survey, and I appreciate your honesty.